Welcome to the Jada Willis Experience. We're here to help CEOs, entrepreneurs, and founders build businesses and their teams without sacrificing themselves.
Welcome back to the Jada Willis Experience. Today, I'm going to talk about something that has been on my heart, I think for years, but I believe, and this is also what I predicted several years ago, is that we are in a leadership crisis in the United States. And I'm not talking about our government. That's way above my pay grade. I am talking about people leaders in the US. And I'm going to prove it to you. Now, given I said this several years ago, as you all may know, that I was the CEO and founder of Willis HR, an outsourced HR consulting firm, and I've been in human resources for 20 years. Yep, 20 years. And with that, I've been able to interact with so many different types of leaders at varying levels. That means even entry-level leaders to all the way to the CEO, board of directors, across many industries. And there's just, there are patterns that have developed. And especially for those folks that were new in a leadership role, really eager to gain this leadership role, or, be promoted within their organization. And even those that have started businesses and, are entrepreneurs that also are leaders by default because they start hiring employees. I believe that we are now in the midst of a leadership crisis. And what that means is even, around the pandemic, there was so much information for employees. And that was a good focus. We focused on employee well-being and health and mental health. And I didn't see the same sort of support and resources for leaders and at any level, or in even CEOs. CEOs were actually expected to communicate effectively, have all the answers. And there wasn't a lot of focus on them from a self-leadership perspective as well. Needless to say, there's been minimal effort, and maybe that's harsh, but effort put into true leadership development. And I think it's because that whoever the leader reports to, whether it's the director of operations or the CEO, or they're actually out this island because they are an entrepreneur and they don't have this support group of other leaders, there's no one that has the capacity or maybe even the knowledge and capability to develop, mentor, and truly enhance and feed this leader. And so they are left on their own little island to figure it out, but still held to this super high standard of I need to make sure that I'm, of course, meeting the KPIs, key performance indicators. I'm taking care of the organization and strategic goals. I'm managing the, day-to-day crisis of either life or external environment. But then also, I need to make sure that I am there for my employees, that I'm communicating effectively. I have, patience and then if you get that really difficult employee, you as a leader have to figure out how do I reach this person? How do I hold them accountable? Am I staying within company guidelines? All of these pieces. And I'm just going to ask the question, who is there to really help our leaders grow in this country? Now, I believe that I'm coming up with offerings and programs that are really going to support this. But I don't think that that's even just enough because, right, like my team and I can only develop so many programs, and I am going to, urge folks signing on. But I do believe that we as a country need to start reinforcing and really focusing on the development of leaders, because it is our future. This is the future of our economy. It's the future of, again, people. Leaders get the firsthand access to frontline employees, to the people that they serve. And if we do not support leaders, we're not going to have the leaders in place. We're not going to even have our future bench. We're going to have some really burnout, tired individuals, but then that trickles down to also our employee base. And what does that do? It impacts attendance, our customers, our client. Like, you see that it can be a domino effect, but I think we should start at the head. I want to just give you a little tidbit to prove to you that several years ago, this was the survey results from Gartner's. Early in 2019, they actually shared that half of organizational leaders said that they weren't well equipped to lead their organizations into the future. That's 50% that actually reported this, that felt ill-equipped to handle leadership into the future. Do you know when 2019 was? It was before the pandemic. So that means that walking into the pandemic, we already had leaders at 50% of like, I actually don't know if I'm able to handle what the future holds. Then we add a pandemic into the mix. And I want to see if that survey was even reissued or what do those numbers look like, at this point. And I think it is, that lends to, there really is a crisis on the mix and on the mend here. And I hope it's on the mend. And I think that if we as leadership development mentors, coaches, this community, it's our job that we've been giving these capabilities, our job to develop the programs and the infrastructure that are going to help leaders start where they are. And it was really interesting that the Wilson Learning Center Institute came up with this chart, essentially. It's a matrix of conscious competency matrix, and it was neat. So basically the first was unconsciously incompetent leaders. So I don't know how to execute, and I don't understand the why. All right, well, what's 2? So 2 is consciously incompetent leaders. I don't know the why, but I don't know how to execute. Or I understand the why, but I don't know how to execute. Number 3, unconsciously competent leaders. I know how to execute, but I don't understand the why. And then number 4 is consciously competent leaders. This is where we want all of our leaders to be in this square. I know how to execute, and I understand the why. It sounds so simple, but it's a combination of understanding the why, but then the clarity of knowing how to execute it. And there are a lot of leadership traits and training and principles that you can't just get on the job. Now, a lot of that's going to be through the experience and even maybe some of the osmosis that happens, but there is also the development and training that is needed. And it really lends to the fact that organizations have not been prioritizing the development of next generational leaders. We haven't been. And I know if that's hard to hear, we're tired. We have so much to focus on. We have to think about our customers, the business. I get it. I've been a business owner. I am a business owner. I've been a CEO. I get it. But we have not been prioritizing the development of the next generation of leaders. It's just the truth. And from my experience, and that's working, speaking all across the country, it's working with so many different businesses, large and small, and even through our investigations that we've been able to kind of take a closer lens of what leaders are doing and saying, really, organizations have not developed a strong bench, have not. And you'd be surprised about even large organizations, because we could say is, you know what, these are small companies, these are mid-sized companies that really just, haven't prioritized that, don't have the budget. No, large organizations too are just sometimes checking a box, more so of, hey, this is our development program, but they're not taking the extra step and really ensuring that there is true and valuable mentoring and coaching of new leaders. And not utilizing leadership development approaches that will meet the expectations or the nuances of new leaders. I mean, there's so many skills needed, but are we just, and this is maybe a self-check for us as HR professionals, as leaders right now, are we really adding value? How are we even measuring the fact that if we have a development program, how are we measuring it to make sure that it's really enhancing the leaders in play with the essential leadership skills and doing the leaders justice? How are they implementing the skills that they're learning into their day-to-day? And I think that is a good starting point, but again, this is something that we've done a disservice to the leaders. And I think that there are critical elements of leadership development that we need to focus on. And you may feel like, Jada, you're on a serious soapbox right now, and we got so much to think about in our day-to-day business. But I urge you that if this isn't a priority of the future, it will quickly be, because it will be such a domino, such a greater impact to every other part of your business. If you don't have the right leaders in place, it's going to impact your bottom line, your cash flow, your customers, and honestly, the sustainability of your organization. And if you're really thinking about, like, what are some of those characteristics, Jada, that my leaders need to have, and probably you can tell me better than what I'm telling you right now, because there are gaps that even with your current leaders, they may be doing well in some instances, but there is room for growth, and there are opportunities, right? Because they maybe do not have the development that they need. But leaders now and in the future, and this is again prediction, they need to be able to be absolutely great coaches. Absolutely. That means that the people skills have to be one of the most important aspects of who they are. These are the individuals that are going to motivate and inspire and engage their teams. And there needs to be a portion of empathy and also accountability. So it's an interesting mixture, and I don't know how that new leader who just hired someone, how they're necessarily going to know how to do that if they're not taught and they've never been a leader before. Or there are some leaders that have been leaders for years and still are trying to learn the balance of when do I coach and push, and when do I hold accountable, and when is it time to say goodbye. And as an HR professional, I think I've worked through with a lot of leaders when to know when to stay or when to go. But truly the best leaders are coaches that feed their people. They water the individuals that they are serving and help them to be successful in their roles. But guess what? If a leader cannot get that support, encouragement, development, then it's going to be super difficult for them to feed into others. Maybe the next one they're thinking about is that, and I say thinking, but these leaders need to be constantly analyzing current trends of your industry, of the market, of your clients, need to be thinking in the future. And it's a very strategic approach, but it has to be one of the pillars that you need to help your leaders in looking at to stay constantly on top of where your business falls in the overall market. I really believe that this is absolutely number one. I know I just said coach, but can we call all of these as number one? The coach is exceptionally important because you're going to feed into the people. But being futuristic is absolutely paramount for the growth of the organization. Growth and sustainability. One thing that maybe that comes to mind is actually Blockbuster, that didn't stay on top of the trends and did not, they're known for not being the most innovative, right? So what happened? I don't know if Blockbuster is still around. I don't think so. If you want to sustain the organization as well as hopefully grow and scale, remain competitive, then your leaders, but especially CEOs, need to be futuristic, thinking through the long-term plan and strategy. All right, I just have a couple more for you. These are I want you to think about this, and I really do. If you stay to the end, I have something I want to tell you about. I want to reveal this to you because I'm so passionate about this that my team and I have actually created a program, a cohort that is going to speak to everything that I've been talking about, but not yet. The next thing is I want, and this is just through so much research and looking back of everyone that I've worked with, what are those common trends and what are the most successful leaders? What do they have? And of course, I've covered the coach piece, futuristic, but what about being that technology teenager? What that means is you have to know they have to be tech savvy, but also know what are the latest trends from a technology standpoint. And you can't get away from being, having that tech savviness, and being digitally fluent and really looking at how does technology play into day-to-day operations, innovation. How can I work better, faster, smarter? And I'm not saying that they need to be the expert, but just have an attitude of curiosity and willingness to look at the latest technology trends, look at them, and then possibly embrace if it's going to help the overall organizational structure. This is a hopeful for the leaders that we have in place, and that new generation of leaders coming to. That's something that we can maximize completely for, again, scalability and just constant reinvention, which we have to be thinking about. If you're running a business, you have to be thinking about, how do I pivot? How do I reinvent? How do I continue to stay competitive? All right. I just have a few more, but what about being a master communicator? Now you may say, does this overlap with being a coach? Well, listen, if you are a effective communicator, it's going to help you be a awesome coach. I mean, it's going to really help you leverage hearing what that other person is saying. It's emphasizing that two-way communication, but it also means that you are in control of your nonverbal communication. I know that I can admit this. I'm raising my hand right now. I struggle with facial expressions, and I have for a very long time. That means that usually you can tell what I'm thinking. I do not have a poker face. It's very unfortunate. But I've learned to work on my overall nonverbal communication because I really don't want that to interrupt the message. And a lot of people, when you're speaking to them, they're listening to what you're saying. They're listening to your inflection. They're also looking and listening to your nonverbal communication. I think that that may be something that maybe we all will want to work on, but I know some awesome CEOs that just came back from a conference, and they have just the facial expressions that I really want to master and really want to conquer, because you just couldn't tell. You couldn't tell if they were happy, sad, or otherwise. And I think that at times you do need that blank expression. You need to have the ability to control your facial expressions and just overall nonverbal communication so that it doesn't interfere with what you're saying. Okay, last one. This is the Yoda. All right. This is for years. Leaders have been able to stay away from and I say able, but encouraged to stay away from that emotionalness at work. You've actually been discouraged from sharing your feelings, sharing your personal life. And I'm here to say that's probably gone are the days. And that's hard for an HR professional to say, but it's not realistic. And I think the pandemic has probably emphasized that as well, is that we have gotten a bit more just open about the fact that, listen, personal struggles, this is what I'm going through, and really being authentic to who we are and who we are 24/7. It doesn't mean that we are not professional. It doesn't mean that we don't have rules or standards or so on and so forth. We do, and I'm sure that those can be found in your employee handbook. However, we really are encouraging leaders to focus on being emotionally intelligent, like Yoda, and really develop just that self-awareness and empathy that is needed. And I really believe in self-leadership. Like, this is something where I will get on my soapbox about. I believe that if you can, this is personally and professionally, if you can manage yourself and know yourself, commune with yourself, it is going to help you be the best version of yourself for all of those around you. And that's personally and professionally. So if leaders develop a high self-awareness, then they're going to be better communicators and connectors and coaches, and just better for the people that they serve, but also better for themselves. And it's truly understanding your strengths, weaknesses, I like to call them opportunities, because I do believe that that's where it all starts. It starts with you. And I think that that's actually a really great segue into what are we doing? So if you're a leader and you're listening to this, or you are someone that you actually support the growth and development of leaders, I just want you to listen up, listen closely. What are we doing in investing for our growth, for our development? Who are we going to be 12 months from now? It's almost May of 2023. That blows my mind. How are we here right now? I swear it was just January. That means that this time is ticking. And what are you doing right now that is going to help you be a better version of yourself by the end of the year or a year from now? What goals have you set? And what program or what have you paid for that's going to, magically inspire you to change those habits and change those routines? And I don't know what that is, but I want to introduce you to something. And it's called the Rising Leaders Cohort. RLC, Rising Leaders Cohort. So this is a virtual cohort that is designed for senior managers and above. And if you're new in role, first time as a leader, and leaders that just want to take it to the next level, this program is for you. It is a cohort, and I want to tell you so much more about it. And it doesn't launch until May. Actually, May 15th. Is a soft launch, but I want to start getting this information to you and outlining it, get you ready now. So Rising Leaders it's just a holistic approach to development and creating a sustainable leadership style. And this is through a mix of training and issue processing. If you're not familiar with that, don't worry, we'll take it easy on you, and we'll show you the ropes. The Rising Leaders Cohort, it's a place to build perspective, to network with other peers and other leaders, and to also build and grow yourself. Let me tell you what's included, and I'm going to blow your mind in just a minute and tell you the actual price too, but here's what's included. A 90-minute contact call and group issue processing call as well. So what that means is in 90 minutes, the first 30 minutes is going to be more about training and content from the leadership coach, right? And some of the topics may be just focusing on your individual leadership message and style, executive presence. There's a lot from a takeaway standpoint, but the curriculum has been developed, and we actually ask your opinion on what you want to learn, what you want to see. And then the rest of the time is group issue processing. We're going to take either 1 to 3, depends on how quickly we can take issues. But maybe you have a current issue right now, whether it be with yourself, with your boss, with your organization, with one of your team members, that's typical, and it's conflict resolution, or how can I communicate more effectively? How can I reach this person? Whatever that quote unquote issue is, we want to be able to help you through it. Yes, you're put on the spot a little bit, but it's an opportunity to ask a real question, or you could do a hypothetical question, and we're going to help you walk through that issue. And then others get to learn from you, and you get to learn whenever it's actually not your turn as well. Next up, one-on-one action planning intake call. That means that as soon as you sign up, you get to have a one-on-one with our leadership coach and to do the action planning. What do you want to get out of this? What are your priorities? What are your goals? We're going to help you with that. And it's immediately, whenever you sign up, we schedule that, and we want to make sure that this is a valuable cohort for you. In addition to that, you get 24/7 access to the confidential Rising Leaders Forum. That means that you don't need to have this 90-minute session necessarily. It's going to be great because it's going to be a live thing where you can chat and you can interact with others. But what about if something happens and there's a question you have, there's something that you're thinking about, there's a new idea or program? Well, don't wait. You have access to a 24/7 forum of other leaders, and we're going to give you our opinions and expert advice as well. You have a virtual weekly leadership challenge. So this is an opportunity to help focus some of these leadership capabilities, give you more guidance, but also hold you accountable. And that leads into the monthly self-assessment exercise. You are going to have the opportunity to submit and report back on some of the pieces and priorities that you're doing on a monthly basis. Okay, last but not least, you actually get a 6-month accountability one-on-one call. This is usually taken from your intake call, intake form. Then we also assess and look at what do those monthly self-reports look like. And we want to make sure this is so insanely valuable for you. And you're not going to believe this. It is $97 a month. I swear to you, there's no catch. There's no catch here. I just shared with you at the front end how passionate I am about leadership issues. I believe a leadership crisis in the U.S. And I'm so passionate that I'm having a leadership coach lead the Rising Leaders cohort. Okay. And this is what we guarantee. In 12 months, I want you to give us 12 months. I believe that you're going to be able to confidently make short and long-term strategic decisions with ease. You're going to empower your team through the ever-evolving workplace challenges. Trust me, I'm HR. If you haven't seen them yet, they're ever-evolving and they're constantly there. Just new challenges, a new day, but it's your perspective. Also, you get to, this is thinking about the executive presence. So command the room. So whether it's C-suite leaders, maybe it's potential clients, whomever your audience is, but it's us helping you through developing your executive presence. It's developing how you show up in an organization, in the world, in the environment from a leadership perspective. And then finally, I guarantee work with us for 12 months and you're going to be able to leverage your leadership principles as your North Star. Thinking about your day-to-day interactions, communication, thinking about how you relate to others, how you want to be seen and how you show up. We want the best for you. And so, as you can see, super passionate about all things leadership, but I want to emphasize the fact that this virtual cohort, it really is specifically designed for senior managers and above, but we're really honing in on those that are new in role, or maybe you're a first-time leader, or maybe, you know what, you've been in a leadership capacity, and maybe you're even feeling a little stagnant, but you want to take it to the next level. Maybe you want to also be promoted. This is the cohort and the program for you. So I know I feel like I have talked your ear off, but I want you to know, and I've talked for almost 30 minutes about a subject that I absolutely love. There's actually this icebreaker question, and they ask, what could you talk about with no preparation, and give a presentation on for 15 minutes? I'll be honest with you, this is one of those topics, just because from what I've seen, and I really care about the fact that small businesses and even large organizations, they're hurting right now, and it's because we haven't poured into our leaders. We're not properly preparing the leaders of today, the leaders of tomorrow, and I think there's so much work to do here. And I know that this program is the start of that. We do have an executive cohort that's coming in the fall. I'm very excited about that, and that's going to be just focused on CEOs, entrepreneurs, executive directors, but this is where we start. And I think that with you joining and enrolling, you'll get more information about that, and we'll be posting more about that on our socials, but that's going to be May 15th. But whenever you do that, you're also able to give your feedback, share what you're struggling with, and that's anonymously. We're going to give you that opportunity to share what you're struggling with, share the topics that you need, and we get to design some of the weekly discussions, the accountability sessions. We design that around what you need and what you're looking for, because I think that there's a lot of work to do in our country. So, all right, I'm officially stepping off of the soapbox, and there's more information to come. I really recommend share this with someone else that you care about, that's in a leadership role, in people leadership, or about to be. I really want to reach the masses. So subscribe, like, follow, and I appreciate it all. I can't wait to share more about the Rising Leaders cohort in future episodes, as well as more on our socials. Also, I am insanely excited about my next guest on the Jada Willis Experience. I mean, I really feel like I'm going to be interviewing a celebrity, so stay tuned.